Reverend Will from First Christian Church in Fulton, Missouri, coming to you with this week's midweek devotion. Every week, about this time of the day, 11 o'clock on Wednesdays, we stop what we're doing for a brief devotion. I read to you what I wrote this week. I email it out on Mondays, and I read it to you live on Wednesdays. And so this week's devotion is grounded in one of the scriptures from last Sunday. We're going to focus on Luke chapter 12, verse 37, which reads, "Happy are those servants whom the master finds waiting up when he arrives. I assure you that when he arrives, he will dress himself to serve, seat them at the table as honored guests, and wait on them." And so I wanted to tell you a story. It happened a couple of years ago before COVID. I was serving a small rural church in the middle of nowhere on two gravel roads. We had been walking together as pastor and church for not even 6 months yet. It was and still is, I know, a church full of faithful, hardworking people, salt of the earth, caring hands streaked with dirt and grime stretched forth and open to love and serve. They had never done a Holy Week before. No one had ever told me why, it just hadn't been done. But we decided to go ahead. So Maundy Thursday came and I set up for the service. We were going to do the traditional foot washing, just as Jesus washed his disciples' feet on the last night he was with them, so too would we honor this tradition. I found a pitcher and bowls in the fellowship hall, nothing fancy, but that original night they probably weren't fancy anyway. Probably what was on hand. Set up a chair in the front of the sanctuary, then I waited for the time. A smattering of people came. We were small but faithful. We sang the songs, heard the story. I preached a probably particularly middling sermon. Then came the time to invite people up for the foot washing. I explained what we were about to do. It wasn't compulsory. They didn't have to do it. You could have someone wash your feet or hands. I know and knew that some people have a thing about feet. You were to be washed and then wash the person after you. I thought a couple people would come up, but I was wrong. One by one, the entire church moved to the center aisle and traipsed their way forward, even the person playing piano. With no sound but the water pouring, the feet being rubbed with hands and the towels drying. These church members loved each other deeply, serving and being served. When the last one came to sit down, there was no one to do it, so I got on my hands and knees and washed this gruff 70-plus-year-old man's hands. It was a level of intimacy you're not really going to find anywhere else in public. I dried his in my hands, and I made the move to go back to continue the service forward, but I was stopped. An elder of the church put her hand on my arm and motioned for me to sit. She was a stalwart. Her family homesteaded the land and donated the plot to the church where it still stood. She lived across the gravel road. She taught Sunday school for years, preached in rotation for years with three others before I got there. A faith as deep and wide as you'll find. So I listened and sat, removed my socks and shoes, and received the love and care she offered. Sure, this elder was the one taking my rank feet into her hands and tenderly caring for them, but it was more than that. Jesus was there. Somehow, some way, the love and grace and mercy of Christ was made real in that moment. In her simple act of serving me, the radical inversion of power was made clear. The master serves the servant. The one who we think we should serve who is worthy of our adulation, who deserves our love, is the one who stoops down all the way to the cross to serve and love us all the way to the end, no matter how rank our lives may be. He washes us, cares for us, and makes us whole. Thanks for joining me for this week's midweek devotion. I hope you heard a word of grace, a word of reassurance. If you like what you heard, please like and share it with someone whom you think might need to hear this word of comfort. You're invited to join us for worship this Sunday. We gather at 10:30 in person and online here. You found us here today. You can find us here on Sundays. But if we don't see you, our benediction is the same as always. God be with you till we meet again.